Hello, fellow witchies. I hope that you are having an amazing festive season in this glorious break in work or school or study or wherever or whatever you do. I think we could all use this break, and that this break was so needed. Especially, the year that we've had was just absolutely insane. So having a bit of a downtime, a little bit of chill, is so much better than, working, I suppose. Any case, today we're going to talk about witches and how do you spot a witch? How do you know if somebody's a witch? How do you know what path of witch somebody is following? If you go up to somebody who's wearing a Celtic cross on a chain around their neck, you don't know whether they actually follow that or if it's just ornamental. There was a phase where wearing a rosary was a fashion statement, and that one, I don't know why, but that one really peed me off. It used to drive me nuts, there's people walking around wearing rosaries, and in the meantime they have nothing to do with Christianity and are not even nearly understanding of the importance of a rosary and how it is such an integral part of Catholicism, and then they just use it as a fashion statement. Any case, so today we're going to talk about, how do you know if somebody is a witch? How do you not know? I suppose without actually talking to somebody, you'll never know. You'll never know for sure. There's 3 articles that I'm going to go through. The first one, how to spot a witch. Spotting a witch today compared to the 1600s is an entirely different puzzle. Nowadays, it's rather easy to determine who's a witch because they are generally proud of their mystical practice. We now know you can't simply label someone as a witch based on their physical appearance or outspokenness. In the late 1500s to mid 1600s in Eastern Europe and early colonial America, witches were named purely based on societal suspicion. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. For example, if a woman was outspoken, she was a witch. If she owned land or had a great deal of assets, she was a witch. If a woman was widowed or a spinster, she was considered out of the ordinary, therefore she was deemed a witch. After the label witch was plastered on a woman in the community, there were many ways to theoretically prove her connection to the feared and mysterious craft. One of these tests included the bizarre witch cake, a rye flour cake baked with the urine of the accused, which was then fed to a local dog that the community observed to determine if it showed the same behaviors as the witch. The people believed that the urine would transmit satanic juices to the dog because of its supposed association with the devil. How gross is that? Seriously, ew. There were many other devised strategies to determine the presence of a witch in the community, including weighing the accused against a stack of Bibles. I've never actually heard of that one. That's interesting. Asking them to recite the Lord's Prayer, counting the number of pets they had, counting the number of marriages they had, asking them if they had dreams that included Native Americans or their culture, and observing if they talked to themselves. These tests and many others determined a community's members' right to continue living. Yikes. The accused was also searched for a physical mark of the witch, including birthmarks, scars, or extra nipples. These mysterious physical marks, which we now discern as common biological features, were considered signs of the devil's presence. The accused were pricked with knives on these marks. If the mark did not bleed, they were deemed a witch. There's a very interesting article that Nerdist did in 2019. They spoke to 6 witches to gain a deeper understanding. I'm not going to go through all of the article. We'll link it down below. There's some interesting points that were made though, because most of these, they aren't, all of them are black witches. So they have a completely different take on witchcraft and where it comes from. Frankie is a writer and a tarot reader, and when asked what the definition of a witch is, he said, "I was always told that a witch is a person who holds a lot of knowledge, wisdom, or ethereal information. And then the practice of witchcraft is using that knowledge to alter the reality around you. Magic is the manipulation of energy, and you are the tool that manipulates the energy." Frankie, who's black and Puerto Rican, grew up in an open-minded Catholic home and ultimately found out that some of his family members practiced Santeria and worshipped orishas. He recognized his identity as a witch at age 6 and encountered Nyx, his goddess of worship. In 1996, my aunt was babysitting me and she got the craft, Frankie continues. When I watched that damn movie and saw Sarah and them doing witchcraft and spells, I knew I was a witch. I knew it. And my whole life, I stuck to it. I used to see these little shadow people watching me while I sleep. I would then have night terrors, but then I would see a woman shrouded in black like a shadow woman. She would make them disappear and let me go to sleep. As I got older, I discovered that she was actually the goddess Nyx, the goddess of night and darkness. Nerdist spoke to Quinn Interstellar, who is an illustrator and neuroscientist. She says the witches have many different beliefs, rituals, and guiding principles, so it is impossible to give a one-size-fits-all definition. They grew up in a spiritual Afro-Trinidadian household where they were free to explore different religions and practices. A witch in the family who does use spiritual practices, whether it be ancestral or possibly like modern-day Western forms of spirituality. I could say that anyone who practiced in this way would be a witch. Odashi. Being a witch is understanding the fact that you are magic and that there's magic in you, in the universe, and in all of us. You are God because you are created in their image, and so that means you are everything inside of you to create the life that you want for yourself. Being a witch means that you are connected to the world and the universe in such a way that you are not going to harm it. Writer Black Witch is pagan, polytheistic, and doesn't have any specific rituals. She had to be secretive about practicing witchcraft in her parents' Christian home, and that minimalism has carried over into her current life. I'm pretty solitary in my practices, states Black Witch. I pretty much blend my practices into my life instead of having set in stone rituals. I don't have an altar. My witchcraft box is a little smaller than a shoebox. Subscribing to belief systems that fall outside of societal norms comes with its set of issues. Witchcraft is a practice that mostly liberates marginalized people, so a ton of falsehoods and stigmas were attached to witches were fabricated to disempower and harm them. Here's an article by Pam Grossman, written 6th of June 2019. You could say I was primed to be a witch from an early age. My grandma Trudy used to tell us that she had healing hands. According to family law, she once saved the life of a dying horse that, after she pressed her palms to its flanks, stood up and trotted happily away. While I can't vouch for the veracity of the tale, I do know that a touch on the forehead from her whenever I had a headache would make the headaches vanish. Trudy was a librarian at a library in central New Jersey, where I spent many a childhood afternoon poring through the low end of the Dewey Decimal System, where books on the paranormal and other oddities were kept. I'd throw as I read about the alleged mystical energy of the Egyptian pyramids and swoon over the entries on witchcraft in Man, Myth and Magic, a 24-volume encyclopedia of the supernatural. My favorite novel was Wise Child by Monica Furlong, a story about an orphan girl who gets taken in by a kind witch named Juniper, who teaches her magic and loves her like a mother might. The villagers came to them in secret whenever they needed healing, but in public Juniper and Wise Child are shunned. Witches, I learned from the book, are complicated creatures, sources of great comfort and great terror. And I'm going to leave it on that note today. I hope you have an awesome week ahead, and I will chat to you soon. Bye. Blessings have been given, blessings have been received. May the love of the Lord and Lady remain forever in our hearts, so mote it be.